Yep, cool. Right, we're live. So welcome folks in the room, welcome folks online to this month's Eastside AI, ML and IoT Meetup. So thank you all for coming. We've been a great meetup going back in person for a while. We're always looking for more people to come and speak at these events. So if you want to come and talk about something you're doing, you come and let us know and we'll organize something for you. Now, I'm just going to kick off with the code of conduct. So we're here in the Microsoft Reactor, which is a free event space from Microsoft available for communities to use. And as part of using this space, we all have to abide by the Microsoft Code of Conduct. Okay, so Microsoft is dedicated to empowering every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. This includes Microsoft Reactor events, where we seek to provide a respectful, friendly, professional experience for everyone, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, physical appearance, disability, age, race, or religion. We do not, and I repeat, do not tolerate any behavior that is harassing or degrading to any individual in any form. Individuals are responsible for knowing and abiding by these standards. We encourage everyone to assist in creating a welcoming and safe environment. Now, our asks of you: be aware of others, be friendly and patient, be welcoming and respectful, be open to all questions and viewpoints, be understanding of differences, and be kind and considerate to others. Now, we take this very, very seriously, and we have a very large legal department who you do not want to get on the wrong side of. If you break our code of conduct, you'll be banned from all Microsoft events. You do not want that nasty letter coming from our Microsoft legal team. We take this very, very seriously. So if anyone does breach a code of conduct, please report it straight away. Let me know, or the building host on the door, let them know straight away, and we will sort that situation out. If we can't physically remove the person, we have a magic button, and Microsoft Security will turn up. We also have another magic button, the police turn up. So I cannot overemphasize how strictly we take our code of conduct. If you breach it, you are out. However, if you feel uncomfortable reporting a code of conduct breach straight away, then email us at reactorred, short for Redmond, reactorred@microsoft.com. This is a safe space for everyone. If you do not make this a safe space, you are not welcome here. Okay, now this event is hosted by the Microsoft Reactor, aka.ms/reactor. If you want to find all of the Reactor events, we run in-person events. We ran a fantastic 2-day open source bootcamp a few weeks ago. It was amazing, wasn't it? We had 2 people who were there. But we run a load of events in person and online. So if you head to aka.ms/reactor, you can learn more about the events that we run. But also, this is a community event space. Although Microsoft owns this, this is for the community. So this event is not a Microsoft meetup. It is a community meetup. I just happen to work for Microsoft, and I'm one of the organizers. But if you are running a community event, you can use this space. Email reactorred@microsoft.com, or come talk to me, and we can run your meetup or your event in this space for free. As long as you're not charging people for the event, we will let you use our space. And with that, we're going to hand over to the Eastside AI, ML, and IoT Meetup. So who's been to one of our events before? I recognize a few faces, a few people, a few new people. Welcome to new folks who've not come to our events before. We try and get together once a month. We don't always manage it because reasons. People can't find speakers, vacations, Christmas, things like that. We try to get together once a month to talk about anything to do with AI, ML, or IoT. So if you want to speak, if there's a burning topic that you want to share with us, we would love to let you know. So come talk to me. I would say talk to Andrew, but Andrew's not here. But come talk to me or reach out on the meetup page. We'd love to have you speak. We have no one for next month. So if anyone wants to come and speak next month, I won't be here. I will be in Japan at the time. But Andrew should be here. So if you want to speak next month, you let me know. So with that, I'm going to hand over to this week's speaker, Raki. So let me just give me a second while I flip the things over. And then, right, I'll just clip that kind of somewhere back there. Ideally, quite up. So if you can kind of tell it. Yeah, that's fine. Stick that in the pocket, keep it about, whatever. And then, if you want to talk, make sure you get loud enough. So just talk for me.
Yep, sure. So we can, yeah, okay. And how to just, okay. Hi everyone, thanks for coming. Thanks Jim for organizing this event. Good? Yeah. Thank you. So today, so let me introduce myself first. So I am Rakhi. I'm head of products at Actionable Analytics. I'll be presenting with my co-host, who will be Arpit Gupta. He's advisor CTO with our organization. So if you have any tech questions, of course, Yeah, hi. URL. No, that's the company. No, it's Biz. Oh, is it? Actionable Analytics. Yeah, it is a type of. Yeah, thanks for bringing this up. Yeah, all good? Yeah. So today we are going to talk about brand image and how we can help build our brand image with the help of AI and ML. So let's begin with the thing, brand image. So basics come first. So let me just ask you guys, what do you think about a brand image of any business? Any thoughts, any inputs? Yep. Yeah, it is important. Yeah, represents the company. How you perceive actually. Yeah, that's good. Anyone else? So basically, yeah, sure. Go ahead. You marketing? Yeah. Yeah. That's it. So basically, brand image is nothing but how you perceive any business. Like if you go to YouTube, you are looking for some kind of videos and all sorts of videos actually. And when you are going to Amazon, you are looking for all kinds of products. But if you are going to Macy's or Nordstrom, then you'll think, oh, I'm gonna buy high-end products. That's the brand image, and they have built this brand image over a period of time. And rightly mentioned that it has been created through marketing, right? And it is very, very important to a business because it is very, very important for a business because it helps build trust and safety in your company, in your product, and people will come and do transaction and spend time on your platform. So why it is so important to have a trust and safety? Because you will feel secure. Like if you have to buy something, like you have to make a transaction, like if you're going to an Amazon, so you have to make a transaction, you have to provide all their details, right? So you should feel secure that this is a secure environment and I can just do a transaction and buy products from there, and they'll be perfectly good quality products, and what they are claiming, it will be the right kind of products which you'll be getting. Okay, so and this becomes all the more important when UGC involved. So what is UGC? It's user-generated content. When you, me, or any other person who is not a part of the business can come and upload their image, text, or video on your platform, right? Businesses can have control, checks and balances, whatever they are providing, whatever they are listing on their platform. But if it comes to the third party, then how will you provide the checks and balances? It becomes very, very difficult and very, very important. So what do you think what the companies have to do? Like there is a possibility that Amazon, I'll just, as a third party seller, I'll just list a product which is a counterfeit, right? Amazon is not responsible for it, but people are thinking that I'm buying from Amazon, right? And we have the trust in Amazon. And if any counterfeit or any duplicate product has been sold from that website, then its brand image will be tarnished. So we don't want to get into that, right? So what are the things that can actually impact the brand image through your content? So what can go wrong with the content? Any suggestions? Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's correct. So there'll be, so we have divided, there could be two things which can be divided. So there could be a possibility that there is unlawful and unauthorized content, which will attract legal trouble for a company, which they totally want to avoid. It could involve adult content, racy images, hate speech, copyright infringement, violence, drugs, arms and ammunition, or anything which you are not allowed, right? And it keeps on changing from country to country and territory to territory. So you have to be very mindful of all those things. It will not just impact your brand image negatively, but it will get you into legal trouble. And then there could be inappropriate content, like, the content which has been listed, they have wrong description about it, right? The size, the color, the dimensions. If it's not correct, then what will happen? There'll be more returns, and you don't like to come back. There'll be less returning customers. So we don't want, right? So what could be the impact of malicious content on any e-commerce website? I have picked up an example of an e-commerce website so that it is easier for people to understand. So if I'm not satisfied with the content of an e-commerce company, then there'll be higher returns because the product which was described, it is not actually the same product, or maybe it is a counterfeit. So I'll end up returning the product, and it costs to the company. Then I'll select some products, I put it in my shopping cart, but I don't buy them. Why I'm not buying them? Because I'm confused. I'm confused about the content of the product. The way it has been described, I'm not sure whether I should buy, though I want to buy that product. Like, I have put in Nike shoes, but I'm not sure the size, the fit. That's why, if you go to better websites or Amazon or Nordstrom, they provide very, very detailed and minute description, like size, fit, how it fit, right? It is for wide, narrow, all those things have been provided. Why? Because it helps the users or consumers to make the transaction on your website, right? And make a selection. And then there is a brand trust. So obviously, when you don't trust a brand, and once it has been broken, then you might not come back to the website, or you won't recommend that website, or don't buy from that product, or don't go. It's not good. They don't have a good quality content, what you are expecting. And here are some numbers, and they are double-digit numbers. Of course, they are glaring, and nobody wants to no business can afford to have such kind of negative numbers. So it's very important for a company to have these things in checks and balances. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are two different problems, and we have to solve for all of things because the content has to be free from both the things, right? So we have kind of created a solution, an integrated solution, which will provide an answer to that. Of course, this might not be, because it is not just AI and machine learning. We'll talk about it. It's basically a marriage between man and machine, so that we can get the best results. And we have to check for both the things. Everything has to have a filter. Mhm. Yeah. So as we have mentioned, I have told you about the impact of malicious content. So what companies do? They hire human moderators. So they do moderate the content which has been uploaded on their website. So what happens is, like when third-party sellers comes on Amazon, they upload the text, like the detail of the product, as well as the image, right? That will complete one listing. And these listings have to go moderation. And some companies which are small, or they are new in the business, they might be able to hire human moderators who will check each and every listing, so that just to ensure that they are correct and for the platform, and it meets the expectation and standards of the platform. So what happens when we have human moderators? So there are negative impact of this also. So there is a human side to it, because humans are involved in this, of course. So what happens is, when human moderators are working to moderate those listings, they work in very difficult environment. First, they have to see all sorts of such kind of negative content, like beheading, violence, and adult, and all those contents, and it impacts them mentally, right? And their mental health gets impacted, and this makes it difficult for them. And second thing is, they have to meet the quota limits, right? So they have been given a quota limits, and they have to work for that, and it's a very difficult work environment situation. So what happens is, it has attracted litigations in big companies, as well as a lot of documentaries have been made. One of them has been just mentioned over here, the cleaners. And we don't want that for our business, right? Because we have to protect the brand image of our product, because as we grow, we have to be protected. And in the earlier slide, I have taken the example of e-commerce, so we understand what could be the negative impact of these kind of uh, content, which is not fit for our platform. So there are other industries also which has been listed here. Besides e-commerce, there are marketplaces like Craigslist, eBay, OTA, and then media, social network, all sorts of industries get impacted. It is not just limited to. Now, content moderation. If you see at this slide, it shows that it is not like every social media site is doing content moderation in one way or other, right? Sometimes they have human moderators. Sometimes they have like group admins. They moderate the content, and it is sent for approval. And once they approve it, then only it gets published. And then consumers also report the content, like this is not fit for the consumption. Like if you're watching a video on YouTube, then obviously you can report your content if it is not the right content. So there are different ways how they are doing it. So this is our way, which we have developed over a period of time. So here in the first thing, that first block, that is storage, right? Here we store all sorts of data. So there are basically three different sets of data. So text, image, and video, right? So this is stored in different repositories, so that we have separation of concerns. And then we have a model layer. So this is actually the main part. So what happens is, like as I mentioned, there are different concerns, like policy violation. If we have to check for adult, we have to check for arms and ammunitions, we have to check for different filters, right? So what we have done, we have different filters for each kind of check and balance, not just one. We don't just put text and try to predict, oh, this is the good listing or bad listing. No, because what happens is, machines are actually very dumb. So if you try to predict so many things, because actually as a human we see, oh, this is a good listing or bad listing, and we have to check for these criteria. For machine, they have to go through a process. They'll go step by step. They have to see whether it's an adult, no, yes, no, whether it's violent, yes, no, whether it's a hate speech, yes, no. So everything has different model. They are called as filters, and for every filter, like for adult, like for text, and for different storage, for different type of data, like for text, we have different filters for each kind of check and balance, right? So for text, we'll verify whether it's a hate speech or not, right? whether it is grammatically correct or not, whether it provides the right description or not. So for all those things, we have different filters, and each filter is an ensemble of multiple models, not just, we don't rely on just one model. And then we'll get the aggregate confidence score from all the filters. And then if the score is high, like 95%, you can set the score as you want. So if it's very, very high, like above 90%, the listing will get accepted and it will be published. And if it is somewhere, it's very, very low, it's below like 60%, the confidence score is less than 60%, then it might get rejected outrightly. But if it is somewhere in between, then what happens? We are not decisive. Then it will go for human moderation. And then they can decide whether it's right or not. So it helps in two ways. First is some marriage between man and machine, because machines sometimes can err, and when they are confused, then it will go to human moderators. And it helps the human moderators because now their workload has been balanced, and then and for it is good for business because now they can scale, they can think of scaling up their business. Now they are not restricted now, because it's very difficult to hire so many human moderators, right? And when you are getting thousands and thousands of hundreds and thousands of listings per day, then it becomes all the more difficult. So how we can solve for it? So we have to have you know, balance, right? So yeah, you have any question? Yeah. Yeah, so it depends. It keeps on changing, and every company can change it. So basically, if the listing has somewhere between, like I have quoted, like 95%, above 95% will accept the listing, below 60% will reject the listing, and when they are in between, like 60 to 95%, the score is between 60 to 95%. So the say a listing has scored say 70%. So we are not sure. We are not going to reject it. We'll send it for human moderation. So low, as I mentioned, like if it is below 60%, then it will be outrightly rejected. But if it's somewhere in the middle because they are confused, right? We are not sure whether we have to accept it and reject it. Because both ways, if we accept it, then we are ruining the customer of experience of our customers. But if I reject it, we will be ruining the customer experience of our sellers. Right? So there'll be mechanical Turks. So mechanical Turks is not the employees. Like, you know, there'll be like people who will be hired, there'll be part-time. So there'll be multiple of people, right? Because it's not just, it's a system, right? Which we have, it's a different system which we have built where humans will come. And it depends, the load. So earlier they were like 100% they were going for review, and now it's like 20 to 30%, which we have seen. Yes. Yeah. 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 Thank you. Now move. Yep, sure.
Coming from all over the place actually, and it didn't occur to us actually that now we have India market as well, and so we have to train for that. And the flag thing came in. So people didn't had a lot of experience in building models for flags. Like how do you detect a flag in the content? So one of the problematic issues that we found out was that they basically built a filter for flag, and we took lifestyle, which is the clothing category, as the first category where we want to detect all those kind of things. And what we found out that a lot of sellers started complaining that their listings were auto getting rejected. And I'm not going to name the company, but the company had poor like customer return policy and whatnot. So they did not give feedback to the sellers why their listings were getting rejected. So the problem is if your listing gets rejected, they can't sell on the e-commerce website, right? That's the problem. So a lot of sellers, and they started reaching. It became so bad that sellers had to contact the CEO of the company. So this became a very big escalation, and it boiled down to the system that we had implemented. It came back to us that why you're rejecting these listings. When we investigated, we found out the listings were basically saying that flag detected in the listing. So they were rejecting for the flag, but this reason was not being provided back to the sellers. Then we said, go ahead and provide this feedback to the sellers. So seller said, oh, I'm not selling any flag. There is no flag in my listing. How come you're rejecting me for a flag? Again, we did another second round of investigation. What we found out was, after a lot of hit and trial, that any listing that had a shadow, like any listing that had a shadow image or some like a sunlight and there is a shadow, would be considered as a flag and it will get rejected. But that's how the training was being done. So after a lot of hit and trial, we figured that thing out. We tuned the model again, and then rolled back the model that we had, put a new model to detect a flag. Just as an example, right? So the point is that sometimes if you don't have a domain knowledge of where you're implementing, things can get wrong. Same can be true for LLM as well, because these nuances of how you use an English language. Let's say English is a language, right? And most of the chat GPT and languages that we use today are based upon English language. In different countries, people like British English is very different from US English. The spellings are also different. The pronunciation is also different. Same way, if you go to different countries, they may have different words for different slangs, like something that we think easily here, like this is how we speak. They may mean it. So, how did your presentation go? Terrific. We use the word terrific, right? Terrific can have multiple meaning. Terrific can also be awesome. It can also mean awful as well, actually, for different people. Terrific can be both things, right? How do you tell what terrific is this person? Because how did the meeting went? Terrific. Is it awful terrific or is it awesome terrific? Something like that, right? So because of the local customs and cultures in different countries, it can have different meaning. So we have to tune it according to that geography, that category within the e-commerce. So that's the example. But yes, LLMs have a lot of advantage. They will be a replacement for the NLP models that we are using today. So that's where it is. But it is not in production right now, because there are a lot of issues. Because I think in one of the presentations I was there, I think the other day that you were giving, where you yourself mentioned that if you ask certain things to it, it can give wrong answers, right? That's the problem, because it will not, unless it is very well pre-trained, and we have found that issues in using it. So far it is not in production, but I think there is a next roadmap, etc. I think it has a lot of value for us to do it there. But that will only solve the text part of the problem. We still have problem on the image side and the video side as well. I think another beauty that is there in this approach is that when you look at, let's say, if I talk about WhatsApp, right? People can forward like messages that can have video, it will have some text, and it's a comprehensive thing, right? So within the video, there will be some text messages as well, like some text will be coming out there as well. And then there will be people wearing t-shirts or something like that, or holding posters, which will have some text, etc. So any content that comes in, you have to divide it into three things, like text, image, and video. And then you have to analyze all three things separately. If in one of the things also any prohibited content is found, you have to reject that entire content. Make sense? Because you can't do it in isolation. So isolation, maybe text is completely clear, there is no problematic content. Maybe the image is having something, but the Video as such is probably okay, but just one image there because it had some play card or somebody holding a poster at that image content, that may be problematic. So while your video filter and your text filter would basically give you thumbs up, but your image filter will give you thumbs down. So as a whole result, so it's like an and function, right? If one is also wrong, the whole thing is wrong. Make sense? So when these three filters kind of work together, the text, image, and data. So yeah, that did I answer your question? Yeah, okay, sounds good. Please feel free to ask more questions. Yeah, we are here for the.
Yeah.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, I get that. So basically, he wants to understand that that human moderators. How do you trust it? Whether you trust just one person or you rely on multiple person, right? Yeah. Thanks for the question. Yeah, as you have rightly mentioned, that human moderators, if they are really trained, then we can probably take one or two. But we don't want to take chances. So obviously, we won't rely on one. So we'll take two. Response from two moderators. But if they are not trained, like Mechanical Turks, where anybody can just log into the system and start moderating the content, then we'll have multiple, like 4 or 5, and it obviously kind of varies based on the sensitivity. Like if it is for kid, like it is, if the content is for the kids consumption, right, then it is very sensitive, so we might have like 4 to 5 or 6, right? And if it is less sensitive and we are sure that it's just a listing, it's not that sensitive, then we can rely on less number of human moderators. So obviously the kind of review, it varies. The number of reviews, it varies based on sensitivity, the kind of moderators. And we have that kind of system where we rank our moderators, like so they are gold, silver, and bronze. So gold are like who are trained, and we have seen their listings in the past. They do the great job. And they're somewhere in the middle, they are rated as silver. Like most of the listings are correct. Somewhere they are gone, so go wrong. So but they are on their way to become gold members. Yeah. So that's how we kind of rate their reviews.
So just adding a little bit more on this. So when we were initially bootstrapping the process, right, that's where the difficulty comes, because maybe all the people that we are onboarding, they're not trained, right? Especially when we had to scale for, as I said, like initially we were checking 100,000 listings. Then a time came when we were doing 500,000 listings a day, right? How do you get so many people to basically scale for that kind of an approach, right? So we had to hire just on Mechanical Turk platforms, just hire basically anyone who knows how to read or write, and that was the qualification. And we don't have time to like train them, right? So at that time, what we were doing was we did an approach of triangulation. So what triangulation says is, like as she was describing, that rather than relying on one or two people, you have like multiple people, like maybe 5, 6, 10 people read the same thing and see what is the consensus. If 9 people say it is adult and one says it is not, maybe it is adult. We accept that, right? Or we also use another approach, like let these people rate certain things, and then we have our internal trained moderators who are already there, who know this stuff. Then they double review it again to make sure that, and then rate them. So basically, as and when these moderators start rating multiple of these listings, soon the system will start rating them as he was describing: gold moderator, bronze moderator, silver moderator. Gold being the highest standard and bronze being the newcomer who we don't have much feedback about. So the idea is that whenever a listing comes in, you try to ensure that at least a person is a silver or a gold member. But it may not be true for all the listings. So if you have more people who are bronze, then you may not want to rely on just single. So it's a policy where based upon what kind of people you get. So we want to even optimize for the cost as well, right? So you can't always have a gold person will charge higher than a bronze person. So it's like the cost dynamics also play a role, right? So if we were like super rich, then yeah, of course we can like get the best quality, etc. So it's a kind of a trade-off between the cost, quality, and still want to maintain the customer experience So that's how we did it. Yeah, very good questions. Please feel free to ask a lot of questions.
And here I would also like to add, as Arpit has mentioned, that there is a cost analysis which you have to do. So you have to do cost benefit analysis all the time, because you are in business and you really want to be in business for a longer period of time. So what you do is, like, sometimes even companies will say, we'll recommend them four models for each filter, like for per filter, but it costs them, right? You have compute and all those good stuff which you have to pay. So you don't have that deep pockets, and so they might end up choosing just one model for each filter and have more human moderators, because in their location the human reviewers are much cheaper than the cost of the machine. So it is always kind of it keeps on changing based on the location, based on the aspiration, based on the pocket size, and everything has to be considered, and it's totally a business decision based on what they want, how much they want to achieve, and how much they want to scale up. Maybe it's okay if their sellers wait for, like, or the content provider can wait for 7 days to 10 days. It's perfectly fine. They might not go for that kind of a like highly automated system, but if they are companies which are fast moving and they don't want to get into that much of time, then obviously they have to have more automated systems. So automation, so all those things, it keeps on changing based on the business requirements, and of course their sensitivity and all those things, geography and everything impacts.
Another thing I'd like to add is, like, I'd like to give an example that many of us have accounts on Facebook or other kind of social media systems, right? Where we sometimes become part of some groups. And many times in those groups, they will have administrators and there will be some moderators as well. Whenever you try to post something there, in some groups, your post will automatically not get posted unless it is approved by a moderator. Those are very strict. So let's say if you have some urgency or something needs to be done immediately, until those moderators are there, your listings will never get basically posted. So you have those kind of groups as well. So in one way, they're good because they'll ensure that no bad content comes to their groups, right? But then they have high latency because it depends upon, volunteers who are moderating. If they did not see it, then your content won't show up, right? And in an urgent situation, when you have to have, let's say, a breaking news or some theft happened or something, fire happened, and you want to update the group, something like that, then that's not going to happen unless somebody sees it, right? That's the drawback there. But the good part is, at least since it is always reviewed, no bad content will ever show up on that group, right? Now the other way around, there are groups where they don't do any moderation, or moderation is done post the fact. So they rely on the community, that if community comments saying that, hey, this is an offensive post or this is not a good content, then if you receive enough complaints, then you remove the content. But in this approach, while there is zero latency because you can immediately post anything, it is full freedom. But the problem is, in this approach, you rely on the community. That means if a bad content is posted, some of the community members have already been hurt, right? That is why they complain, and then you remove it. So you have both sides of the coin. So one is super restrictive, where it allows no posting, right? And then there is the other side where you allow to post everything, and retrospectively you go and basically check whether it was bad or not and do it. What this approach suggests you, gives you kind of a lever, right? You can tune it according to what your situation is. You can make it super, strict, that unless every filter gives me 95% plus marks, I'm not going to pass that content, right? And make it very strict, so nothing get approved, it gets automatically rejected. Or you can make it super lax, that like everything that is going to go, I'm going to let it there, but I'll let the customer decide whether this was good content or not. But by that time, you might already lose your brand trust from the customer. So you have to basically decide. And as Raki was pointed out, like, we assume that these models are cheap. They may not be cheap, actually. They may be very expensive, because you have to spend tons and tons of money to get a very good accuracy for image analysis, for text analysis, as well as for video analysis. So you have to spend a lot of money on the compute, build a model, train it, and then deploy it and keep testing it whether it is making sense or not. So as I said, for each category, within each category, for each storage type, within each storage type for each filter, like adult, a racy image, politics, counterfeit, so on and so forth. In fact, content, like even the other kind of things, like this listing says that this is a check shirt, right? But I post it as a like a striped shirt, or I post it as a t-shirt, but this is a like a formal shirt, right? So this is wrong. So you have listings for that also, where you have to do content entity extraction and then try to do the machine learning, like comparing it whether it is this or not, etc. The point here is that each of these things, so if I show this to a human being can just look at it right away. I don't even have to train them what kind of shirt is this. They can look at it and tell, right? That's not true for the model. It has to be trained no matter what, right? So it is a cost that we have to incur to train those models. Now the choice is this. So if you only rely on one model, or would you have 3 or 4 models? The point is, the more models that you have, the better accuracy you can get. If you rely only on one model, then the accuracy may be questionable actually. So in those, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, we use something known as ensemble technique, and that's what the technique does. So basically, for an ensemble model, you have all the results of all the models that are there for a single filter plugged into this ensemble technique. So there you can apply whether I'm going to use a weighted average, mean. So that's a decision. That's a job of the data scientist. They can tune it, and you are rightly, as you rightly said, you could say that as long as 4 models give me over 80%, I will consider this as good. Or you can say that all 5 models have to give me at least 70% plus, then I'll consider this as good. So you can tune it. So from our side, there is no restriction. System already provides you that capability based upon your business scenario, how it impacts your business, you can tune it. That's what we call as ensemble. So basically the output of all these 5-10 different models goes together one, and the final output is the ensemble output that combines all the results of all the previous models basically. So you can choose like how you want to interpret it. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So I think the question that he asked was basically for the human reviewers, whenever they're giving feedback, labeling the content, do we use that content as a feedback, as in reinforcement learning, etc.? Answer is yes. The idea is that we always compare the results of the human reviewers, and as I said, if the human reviewer is like the gold standard, then we know that most likely whatever that person is saying is correct. And if the machine is going against it, that gives us a strike that okay, this needs to be fixed. So yes, the human labels are taken again to retrain the models basically. So training, so initially when we were starting, there was a lot more requirement for that. But once a lot of training has happened, a lot of reviews have already gone through both automated and manual, then only for the cases where the difference is from machine to a man is a different, that's only when we basically update it. But we had very little cases after the training, like after running for several years. Once in a while we may get those instances, but chances of them happening are very low because the system has become good. But whenever new, let's say a category comes in, let's say Amazon tomorrow jumps into pharmaceuticals. Say that we are going to list pharmaceuticals like medicines online, and you can order medicines online, right? Some countries people are already doing that. Like in India, you can buy medicines online. In US, you can't do just yet, but in India you can. So in those cases, a new model has to be trained from scratch, because there are a lot of legal implications. Like you have to have prescription. You want to make sure the prescription is actually original prescription, not something that you have written yourself and uploaded it. So those modeling have to be done differently, right? Whereas other things such as electronics, furniture, these have been already there, so you are probably okay. But in, let's say, in clothing category, let's say a new kind of clothing comes in, again you have to retrain the models. Maybe we never saw a clothing like that earlier. So it can happen within the same category. If a new product is launched, it can happen in completely new category. So basically it can basically change. So yeah, feedback has to be coming. So if it is in an existing category, feedback is generally the same, so it doesn't impact much. But if it is a new product, new item, or new category that has been launched, then it is required to retrain the model again based upon the new feedback that we get. Yeah. You have a question? If I understand, can you please repeat? So I think I am getting what you're saying. Just yeah, to understand. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, so basically, this is something we did when we were like bootstrapping, right? So this is a classic bootstrap problem. Where do you get the label data? You don't have enough data when you start. So we call this a simulation technique. So let's say I have 20 items that talks about hate speech, but I have 20 is not good enough for me to train the system. I need like 100,000 bad hate speech to tell the system that okay, this is what hate speech means. Then what I could do, I can simulate that. I can take those 20 texts and I can manipulate them by adding stuffing, padding, changing a little bit here, and then use synonyms to create, rather than 20, I create 20,000 out of it. So yes. So when we have to train bootstrapping the process, we do that actually to train the system. Yes. So especially in new categories, etc., we do that quite a bit. That's we call it as simulation training, etc. Any other question? Yeah. Yeah, very, very good question. So I think let me just, for the audience purpose, let me repeat the question. So he said the models have been trained, the system is being working fine, but the bad actors are clever. So they also understand that you are detecting them. So they come out with new techniques to overcome your system and go through. And this happens all the time. So I'll give you an example what many sellers do, okay, in e-commerce. So, because most of our times our customers have been in e-commerce, so we have a lot of e-commerce examples. So and you can even see it like in your own cases as well, whichever websites you use to shopping, right? So many times what these sellers will do, so in e-commerce what happens, if you are selling the same product, rather than having different listing of the same product, it would be just one listing and it will tell these are the sellers who are selling this product. Have you ever seen that? So for instance, if you go to buy, let's say, Nike shoe, so and let's say there is a famous I don't know, like Mike Jordans or something, some Jordans, right? Some Nike shoes Jordans became very famous. So that's just one. There are no 10 different Nike Jordans. It's one Nike Jordan. So it is one shoe. So uh, as per the policy of all e-commerce companies, you should just see one listing. So when you search for Nike Jordan, you should just see one listings, and all the sellers who are selling this listing should be shown as seller. So when you open the description of that listing, will say it is sold by 10 different sellers at this price. Okay, it should not be 10 different listings. So what some of these sellers will do, they are still wanting to list Nike Jordans, but they will change the name, change the heading, or they will add some padding in the description to make it sound as if it is a different thing. They even do it for an iPhone. An iPhone is an iPhone. You can't have 10 different iPhone. I mean, if the version is different, of course it is different. But I'm saying iPhone 5s. It is only one iPhone 5s. You can't have 50 listings of iPhone 5s. So this procedure is known as so there is a concept known as variation. So variation is, let's say it has different color, black, white. So these are variants of the same iPhone 5s. So you can, so basically, if you search on Amazon, what it will show you, this is iPhone 5s, also available in black, blue, and green. You see what I'm saying? It's still the same listing, but it'll tell you what the variants are, but it will still be one listing. And all the different sellers were selling the same thing. So what some smart sellers will do, they will, rather than say iPhone 5s, they'll put I capital, then put a like a space in between phones, change the spelling, something like that, and try to do some interesting thing so that when the listing comes in, it sees as a different listing. So, and now somebody will ask, why would I do something like this? Like, what is the benefit for me? The benefit is, on a e-commerce site, if you get a separate listing of yourself, likelihood of customers clicking on that is much higher than one listing where every seller is buried under it. You're getting my point. If you're buried under one listing, then unless you are like very reputable seller, etc., people will not buy from you. They'll buy, an Amazon algorithm will push a seller who is either paying high to Amazon or who is like high rating, right? So if you have to have your separate listing, chances are people will go and buy with you. That is why people will do that. And this is kind of tricking the system, right? So what they started doing, as I was saying, that he was asking the question, like the previous person was asking the question, right? So the content is still fine. It is not illegal, but they're adding padding in the naming and things like that to show it is a different listing, but it is the same listing. So we have to build a model where now we have to basically find out from these similar looking listings, is it exactly the same product or they're actually two different listings? So now you have to build an NLP model just with the name, the description and all to tell, oh, these are actually same products, identical. So you do the product similarity matching. That's another filter that we do, which is known as product similarity matching. So you check the image, you check the description, you check the text, and you assign a score. How similar are these two listings? And if the score is pretty high, we know that it is exactly same listing. And you basically bar the seller or say that it is the same listing. So we also call this process as deduplication, basically. So it happens. So this is one example of like these are not like spammers or like bad people, but these are just common sellers. They want to make more sale. Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a good point. So as Raki was telling about the tiering that we do on the moderators, there is a seller tiering also that happens. So in the seller tiering, you have like kindergarten sellers, high school sellers, and graduate sellers. Again, it's the same format. The idea is, if a seller has known to be practicing such kind of behavior, they will get the least rating, which is kindergartner. They can also be banned also completely if they basically completely don't like keep doing this the same stuff. But if you are a new seller, if you have not done too much business with the company, then you'll start as a kindergarten based upon how you behave in the system, how many times you did policy violations, how many. So the two kind of policy violations, as she described, one is illegal, like hate content, hate speech. This is not by mistake. This is like illegal, malicious. This is more negative than, oh, this was a check shirt, I put it as stripe, or like a genuine mistake, right? Like I can give a benefit of the doubt. So you penalize these sellers little bit less if it is a content mistake, but you penalize very heavily if it is a illegal violation like adult or like trademark or weapon and things like that. So as the sellers start selling more data, and then you also use returns, customer returns, because that's also a feedback, like how many times what you sold got coming back. So in general, in e-commerce industry, 25% is a rate of return, which is pretty high actually. 25% of the content, like products, come back because that's how it is. But let's say one of the sellers you are seeing 35% return rate, then this is way beyond the average. So you need to do something about this seller, right? So you can either completely block those sellers, or if you find that it was genuine mistake, etc., you rate them as okay. Now your tiering is, so now somebody will ask, like, what is the benefit of this tiering, right? So even if you put seller, they can still sell everything. The tiering helps in this content moderation, basically. So if you are a highly like graduate seller, you may not go through all the models. So there are policies wherein they say, rather than having his listing go through 10 models, make them go through only 5. That means the latency will reduce and the cost to validate the seller is going to reduce. So that happens based upon the tiering. Another thing, we innovated it in India actually. In one of the customers, we used to call it as skip QC. The skip QC part is the moment you upload a listing and it goes into the catalog where this process is. So basically, this process happens before a product gets added to the catalog. So any kind of search system, any kind of media system that you build a catalog of all the items, right? Same happens in the e-commerce. So before getting into the catalog, you have to go through this validation process, whether it is good content or not, right? So for very good sellers who are like graduate sellers, you may skip the entire process. It's a very high risky thing, but you may completely skip the process of no testing. And what you do is, this is outside of this bound, but I'm just giving this as an example. This is something we did, is that, so all the, when you have searches that go on any kind of website and you're looking for listings, it has been known that hardly less than 10% of the products are actually searchable. So people are not even writing keywords that are discovering all the catalog that is out there. And that is true for pretty much all companies. Less than 10% of the product is searchable. You know why? Your customers only have limited knowledge of keywords. They're only looking for limited keywords and looking for those things. As long as your listing has those keywords, it will show up in the search. If you don't, it will never show up. So we came out with the idea, if we know that only 10% of the listings will ever getting searched, what is the point of running this heavy, this is a very expensive process, by the way, right? Whether it is manual or like automated. So in a day, if 100,000 listings are coming in and every listing has to go through this process, can we have some listings skip this process so that we can save the money and have them list directly? And if a keyword search comes that matches this listing, deactivate that listing there and then do this process post the fact. You see what I'm saying? If there is a demand for his product, then I want to do it. But how would I even know whether there is a demand for this product? I wait for the time till a search request comes in. And if the search request comes and hits, there is a match for his listing, then I deactivate the listing. That means the product will still not show up to the customer. It will get matched, but it has not been served. It makes sense? So I can remove that listing at that point of time and then run this same process of validation after the fact, because I know there is a demand for this product. So what happens in this case, as I said, 90% of the listings are unsearchable, undiscoverable. So I save money for the company because all these listings, and this is only, again, I am saying this is very risky because, you want to make sure that, have to be very careful. So for certain listings, we are very confident of the seller that they are really good, we will give them this green channel, wherein the moment you upload your listing gets activated within the matter of minutes, not in normal process, it takes like days and hours. You can't get it like you upload the listing and boom, the listing is already on the website. That doesn't happen. So for these sellers, sometimes we'll give this kind of green channel. Not many companies are doing this. We just did it as an experiment, but it is a very big boost for the sellers. And some people might ask, what is the benefit if I make the listing available instantaneously? Well, the moment you are able to instantaneously list the listing, let's say there is a new product that has come in the market. If you are the seller who is the first one to list your product, who will get the sales? You. Other people are still in the queue. They're taking several hours or several days to list their product. So customers will go and buy the product from you. That's the benefit of green channel or very quick listings, etc. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, good. Yeah, so there are already so YOLO. There is a framework such as YOLO, YOLO. That's a video framework. So they already have APIs for object detection, content detection, etc. So basically it does exactly what you're telling. So it basically does, but we don't have to do it for them. That algorithm already does for us. So we can directly say YOLO, YOLO. Yeah, you can search. So so basically it can detect content. So it can tell there is a car, there is a human being, etc. It can also do further text on the car, whatever is the number in the car that is written, right? So it can do all those kind of things, the detection in video. But the fundamental is still the same. Video is nothing but frames of images. They have been moved in a very fast speed. That's what the video is. Essentially, they're doing essentially the same thing. What happens in image analysis? Just the problem here is because it is like so many frames coming at the same time, you have to detect. So what you do in the image analysis, which is detection of the objects, people, clothing, then you can detect their features like smiling, not smiling. There are 1,000 things that you can do for that. So same thing happens in the video, but there are frameworks. So we didn't have to. So our problem was to solve the business problem using AI and machine learning, not necessarily building those algorithms ourselves. So we'll just use what already exists out there and apply it to a use case, as in this example, e-commerce or media companies, etc., and do that. Yeah. Any further questions? Raki, did you had anything to say or? Last slide. Yeah, you want to? She'll just wrap up with the last slide.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically with all the good stuff, what is next? Because we always want to evolve and iterate and make ourselves better. So as it was pointed out that can we use LLM? Yes, of course there is a possibility, but how we'll use and when we'll use and how much time it will take is still a question, but we are open to this idea. And then second thing is real-time content moderation. And you must have seen that, nowadays people are live streaming, they are going live. But there is a possibility, like, because recently we have seen in news that there are cases of suicides committed online, like while they go live stream, and how we can protect such kind of things. Online streaming had become very, very difficult to moderate. So this is something which we target to do in future. But yeah, so this is something which we want to do going ahead. Yeah. Any questions? Anything? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. It was a wonderful evening. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much to our presenter, Raki. Round of applause for Raki. Way! And round of applause for the singing voice at the back of the room. So thank you everyone for coming today. We don't have another one booked. We're still looking for more speakers. So if you want to come and speak, let me know. We'll put a message on the meetup. Otherwise, we'll try and find some cool people. Probably not next month because it's July and lots of people on vacation, me included. But otherwise, we'll see you back here for our next event, whenever that is. But eat some more pizza, take home any leftover pizza, hang out and chat, whatever you. But thank you all for coming.